Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order then this regular meeting, Tuesday, October 15th at 10 a.m. And I've asked Cassandra if she would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if you would all stand, and we will have our invocation led by Mr. Gruters in Payson after the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, thank you for your blessing, Lord, on the Gila County Board of Supervisors and County Chairman. We pray for your peace in all discussions, deliberations, and even in our differences. And Father, we pray for wisdom in the decisions that the board will make so that they know how to govern the county correctly and correctly. And we pray this in your name, Lord Jesus. Amen.
Man, thank you. Well, welcome again. Beautiful fall day. Let's start our meeting off here with item number 2. It's a public hearing. Item 2A is information, discussion, action to consider 2 liquor license applications. The county number is LL-24-03 and LL-24-04, submitted by Andrea Lukowitz for the transfer of a Series 9 liquor store license and a Series 07 beer and wine bar license with interim permits to operate at the Tonto Basin Marketplace located in Tonto Basin, and issue a recommendation to the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control whether the licenses should be granted. Samantha.
Thank you, Chairman and board members. So Andrea Lukowitz submitted 2 applications to the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control, the DLLC, for the transfer of a Series 9 liquor store license and a Series 7 beer and wine bar license with interim permits to operate at the Tonto Basin Marketplace. There are 2 existing liquor licenses at the location where the DLLC has issued Mrs. Lukowitz interim permits to operate. The county has an internal review process where various county departments review the application as well as the county treasurer. To ensure that there are no issues related to their respective departments. No issue has been reported for the Tonto Basin Marketplace by the departments or members of the public. So the clerk of the board's office recommends to proceed with the public hearing, and I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Samantha. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Klein.
Neither do I.
And neither do I. So why don't I open it up to the public hearing portion. Lisa, up in Payson, do we have anyone there that wishes to speak to this item? Okay, thank you. Cassandra? No. Is there anyone present here in the Globe boardroom? No. Doesn't look like it, so I'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to recommend that the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control approve the liquor license application submitted by Andrea Lukowitz for the Tonto Basin Marketplace.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. We'll move on to item 3, regular agenda items. Item A is information, discussion, action to consider a sealed bid for the purchase of assessor's tax parcel number 101070079, and if accepted, authorize the chairman's signature on the quit claim deed. Samantha.
Thank you again. So just as a reminder, since we don't get these sealed bid requests very often, only a landowner that adjoins a state-deeded tax property may submit a sealed bids for the board's consideration. So the board has that authority through ARS 42-18303F to consider selling property less than a lien amount from an adjoining landowner only. On August 10th, 2012, the Gila County Treasurer deeded parcel 101-07079 to the state of Arizona in care of the Board of Supervisors because the previous owner did not pay taxes on the subject property for 7 consecutive years. So the property adjoins Gila County Assessor's parcel 101-07080, owned by Andrew Olson. Mr. Olson submitted a sealed bid for the Board of Supervisors consideration. If the board accepts Mr. Olson's sealed bid, he intends to request that the Gila County Assessor combine the parcels, which is a win-win for both parties here. So the lien amount for this property is $2,356.44. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, and if you just want to let me know when you want me to open the sealed bid.
Okay, thank you, Samantha. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions, and it's fine with me to open the bid.
Okay, Supervisor Klein.
Yeah, you bet. Let's see what the bid is.
Mr. Olson's sealed bid is $350.
Okay, thank you, Samantha. So from this point, do we call for a motion?
Yes.
Okay, so I will call for a motion to accept or not accept the $350 bid for this parcel.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to sell assessor's tax parcel number 101-07079 to Andrew Olson in the amount of $350 and authorize the chairman's signature on the quitclaim deed.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that motion.
And a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's the bargain of the day then, right? 3B, information, discussion, action to approve FFY 2025 Governor's Office of Highway Safety Grant Agreement Number 2025 PTS-023 in the amount of $30,574 for the period of October 1st, 2024 to September 30, 2025 that will be issued for overtime and employee-related expenses. The LiDAR unit, gas system printer, and Intox 9000 unit. Good morning, Under Sheriff.
Again, the sheriff's office is seeking your approval for expending the funded sheriff's name to speed enforcement, DUI enforcement. Funding covering our overtime, equipment, speed measuring equipment. So, the amount of the funding is $40,000.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
Mr. Klein.
No, I don't either, Dennis. I think it's a good deal. And I would have one question. You know, with this equipment and you guys setting up do you have any idea how many DUIs that this will help catch?
Well, DUIs are catch when catch can.
Yeah.
During our regular patrolling shift and stuff, we catch a number of DUIs out there. But this is targeted funding to go out and not answer radio calls to look for DUIs. Take areas where we get citizens complaints about speeding vehicles, we can direct the deputy to go there, and that's all that can be. This is targeted funding, but. Okay. You can still hear me, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. That's what this is. This funding goes specifically to take care of the things that the grant it's dedicated to.
So like this equipment that you have here is mobile. You take it out on the roads with you?
Well, yeah, the speed measuring equipment is the LiDAR. That's the new technology. We used to have the Doppler radar equipment. Now they're going to the laser radar. That's what this is for. The intoxilizer, not so much mobile. It's something that needs to be stationary because of the sensitivity for what it does. It doesn't need to be bouncing around. So no, the intoxilizer would be mobile, or I'm sorry, would be stationary, but the rest of the equipment would be out in the field.
So with this intoxilizer, this 9,000, do you have one for like each end of the county, or do you just pretty much have one in the county?
We do. I believe one of these is actually a replacement. We've got them on both ends of the county and then down at the lake. So, and also over in Young. We also, in addition to the intoxilizer, we have phlebotomists that are certified to do blood draws in the event that you've got a machine that's down or the drive time to that equipment is extended. We can draw blood.
Okay, thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Supervisor. I don't have any questions, Dennis, so if that's it, then we'll just call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve FFY 2025 Governor's Office of Highway Safety Grant Application Number 2025-BTS-023 as presented.
And Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Dennis. And item 3C, information, discussion, and action to approve amendment number 2 to service agreement number 062922 with Advantage Home Performance Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $300,000 and extend the term of the contract for one additional year to September 5, 2025. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. So under community services, this is for our weatherization contracts. We've had this discussion with Board of Supervisors before. This was a sole bidder 2 years ago on a contract to do weatherization services. We renewed last year. If you look this year, I'm renewing at half the dollar amount. I've run into a small issue with the contract for weatherization this year, which is to start July 1st. Hasn't started yet. The one piece of paperwork they're waiting for on us this year is having a contract in place. We don't have any other vendors yet, but Supervisor Humphrey did get us in contact with one who's willing to do some roofing. We're trying to do some additional work to find other contractors. So my hope is that although this contract will be for the whole year, you see the dollar amount isn't there, that we'll be able to have something else in place and go out to bid for this again to kind of expand the amount of vendors that we have in place. In the meantime, we have staff that work on this grant. I'm trying to get the contract in place. So we're putting this before the board. Hopefully there aren't any issues here. But I got to meet with Advantage Home Builders about a month ago. Actually, me and Mr. O'Driscoll and some staff, and we got to meet with them, ask a lot of questions. I've implemented some additional protocol with them before their final bills are paid, working with community development and Randy, the director over there. So we have some additional kind of checks and balances in order with them that I think will help along this process as well. So I feel pretty good about this for at least the time being until we can get more vendors up and going.
Very good. Supervisor Humphrey.
Thank you very much. I know it's difficult, kind of rock between a hard spot because we've got a lot of work, we've got funding, but finding vendors with all of the state regulations is difficult, which perhaps maybe I can talk to some of our state representatives on some of that too to help some of these counties with some of this funding to help people. It's horrible to have money to help people and you can't help them because nobody can jump through the hoops that the state's requiring. So thank you very much for all you've done to work on this. I appreciate it very much. That's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Supervisor Klein.
So Josh, besides Advantage Home Performance Incorporated, we have another vendor as well, or?
We don't have anybody yet, but we have
Okay.
Gila, I think it's Gila Monster Construction.
Okay.
Is another one that's working towards taking their 1 week weatherization program class that you have to take at the state, which gets them part of the way there. And then there's like 3 or 4 different types of insurance that they have to have in place, as well as getting their fingerprint clearance card for all their staff that would work the project. So it's a process to get somebody new, even to the point that I feel comfortable like putting this back out to bid.
So this other outfit is local right here then?
It's local.
Well, that's good. Cool. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, thank you, Josh, for your efforts to expand that offering. So with that, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve amendment number 2 to service agreement number 062922 with Advantage Home Performance Incorporated as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, Josh. Item 3D, information, discussion, action to ratify the Board of Supervisors' approval for the chairman's signature on the temporary construction easement granted to the state of Arizona by and through its Department of Transportation for the construction of the State Route 87 Green Valley Parkway to Houston Mesa Road Improvement Project. Good morning, Homero.
Good morning, Chairman, Board of Supervisors. We're asking for the ratification of a signature that's already taken place due to the urgency of a project that ADOT is proposing. And the urgency was that they came to the county and asked for a temporary construction easement for a property that we don't have a quitclaim for. And so with the help of Jessica Cervelli, our county attorney, we worked with ADOT. We worked with the Attorney General, and we decided that the best thing for the county to do was to sign a temporary construction easement for 3 entrances to Tanto Plaza in Payson. that serves a number of business communities. Currently, nobody owns that parking lot. It is a parcel that's owned by the state. It doesn't have private ownership. They failed to pay taxes on this one parcel, and therefore, eventually, the state took ownership of that property. And so when the state comes to Gila County to ask for us to sign a temporary construction easement, that's when I asked the help of the county attorney, what's the proper thing for us to do? And while we're having these discussions, time runs out, we needed to sign the temporary construction easement. We asked Chairman Christensen to sign it, knowing that we would be coming back to the board for ratification of that signature as soon as we could, and that's what we're doing today. Now, if the county were not to sign that temporary construction easement, then ADOT would not make those improvements when they improve the Beeline Highway, the improvement that they're scheduling for Beeline Highway. They would also improve the entrances to the highway, and that would include the 3 entrances that are on this parking lot. So those would be unimproved, and they'd end up having to have a 2 to 3 inch jump onto the highway from the parking lot. In order to avoid that, we thought it was best to move with the signature and the ratification, and that's what we're asking the board to approve today. Any questions? Be happy to take the questions, or I'm sure Jessica Shabeli, our county attorney, could also help with any questions.
Supervisor Humphrey.
Mr. Chair, I have no questions.
Jessica, did you have anything to add?
Chairman, members of the board, just to clarify what the issue was, this property is owned by the state in care of the county. That's how our tax deeded properties are named. Again, it's owned by the state, but in care of the county. So the county does not hold the authority to execute any sort of deed or execute any sort of easement. That is why I worked with the Attorney General's office to confirm that the state is in the opinion that the easement should exist. In this case particular, I'm okay with moving forward with the easement. If the other party was not the state, then I would be hesitant.
Okay.
Questions?
Supervisor Klein?
No, I'm good.
Still okay, Supervisor Humphrey?
I'm good.
Okay. Good too. So Homero, no one owns the parking lot technically, I guess, and it's just completely falling apart. And so I suppose then, I don't know why it's in care of us, but it really shouldn't be. I wouldn't think it needs to go to the owners of the properties so that they can care for it themselves. I know that's not what we're talking about today.
Chairman, members of the board. So when someone is delinquent on their taxes, there's a process that the property after 7 years is deeded over to the state. So the state is the owner of the property at that point. There's other avenues, like here today, we just had the auction to get the property back on the tax rolls. Someone made a bid adjacent to the property. However, there's no office in the state that takes care of these tax deeded properties. That's why they have it in care of the counties.
Okay.
Because the counties, you know, the treasurers are supposed to manage these properties. And that's why we ran into the predicament of, well, why should the county sign it when we don't own the deed? It's the state that owns the deed, yet there's no one authorized from the state to sign it. It's really, so it's kind of one of those situations. But here, working with the Attorney General's office, we all came to an agreement that it should be signed.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. So with that, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to ratify the Board of Supervisors' approval for the chairman's signature on the temporary construction easement granted to the state of Arizona by and through its Department of Transportation for the construction of the State Route 87 Green Valley Parkway to Houston Mesa Road Improvement Project.
And I'll second that, Mr.
A
Chairman.
motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Item 3E, information discussion action to approve the use of Omnia cooperative contract number 212816 with Empire Machine and Caterpillar in the amount of $382,938.66 for the purchase of a new 2024 120-14A all-wheel drive Caterpillar motor grader. Romero.
Thank you, Chairman. The vehicle that we're intending to replace is J003. It's a 1987 motor grader, 1983 motor grader. It's 41 years old. If you have vehicles that are 4 years old and you try to find parts for it, you know that it's very difficult to find parts, and usually they're very expensive. And that's the case with this particular vehicle. And of course, because of its age, it has more downtime than the newer vehicles. It's time to replace it. We would like to replace it with a Caterpillar 120-14 all-wheel drive motor grader. The purchase price that you mentioned, Chairman, in the introduction of this item, $382,938, also includes an extended warranty. We're paying $18,000, $18,800 for that extended warranty. The extended warranty is for 7 years, 7,000 miles, and includes everything except lubrication, downtime expenses that we may incur. Basically, it covers everything except the normal wear and tear and lubrication. So that would be Caterpillar fixing the vehicle for the next 7 years for 7,000 miles, whichever comes first. That's included in the purchase price. We would like to move forward with this. The vehicle would be coming to the Globe area, and one of the older vehicles from the Globe area would be going out to replace J003, which I think currently is in Tonto Basin. And we'd like to use that to put the vehicles where they're most used, the newer ones where they're most used, and the older ones to our outlying areas. It's a standard practice that we use. So with that, we would like to request that you approve this purchase of a new motor grader.
Thank you, Merrill. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein.
So I have a couple for you, Homer. This Omnia cooperative contract, is that like a different program through CAT that we purchase equipment? I don't understand that, I guess.
So we look for these state cooperative contract. This is a contract that the city of Tucson has.
Okay.
And so it's considered like a state contract. It does get us a significant discount to the sticker price, if you will. In the board item, we mentioned that there's a savings of $248,000 using both the Omnia contract and a discount from Caterpillar. So it does put a big bite into the purchase price. I don't think we would buy Caterpillars at $500,000. We do competitive bids for them. But by the use of these contracts, we can expedite the purchase and get something that is very competitive.
Okay. I guess that's it, Homer. Thank you.
Thank you. And so the older unit J003, you'll eventually end up in an auction.
Correct.
Okay. All right. With that, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve the use of Omnia Cooperative Contract Number 212816 with Empire Machinery and Caterpillar Incorporated as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Homero. Item 3F is information, discussion, action to adopt resolution number 24-10-04, authorizing the purchase of 10 flood-prone properties adjacent to Campaign Creek, and authorize James Menlove, Gila County Manager, to sign the various related documents associated with the purchase of homes related to the Campaign Creek buyout and other Campaign Creek homes necessary for the successful completion of the Campaign Creek project. We have Alex.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Board. So as you know, we've been working on acquiring the homes for the Campaign Creek buyout. In addition to that, there was 2 others that were originally they didn't get the applications in time to be considered part of the Campaign Creek buyout, but we still consider them in our process as we were moving forward with the purchasing of these homes. And we were going to use monies from the Woodbury Fire Mitigation Fund in order to purchase these last 2 homes, which brought the total up to 10. And I brought all of this before you guys about 2 months ago. At this point, we're now at the stage where we're ready to actually purchase these homes. We've been working with the title company and we are ready for closing. And so we're bringing this resolution before you today so that I don't have to bring every single one of these 10 homes before you guys to get the chairman's signature on. So this resolution will allow Manager Menlove to sign any closing documents required to acquire these 10 homes.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, especially we're under the gun to have this done in 12 months. So getting before the board for each one of these homes for our approval could slow that process. So thanks for thinking ahead. Anything that can get this process going and get it done within the 12 months that we have to do it, I think is a great thing. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Supervisor Klein.
I think this is a good deal, and I agree with Supervisor Humphrey. Alex, I just have one question, remind me, because I don't remember. What ended up being the total cost on those homes? Do you have that handy? If not, it's okay.
Yes, so the total for all 10, including the 2 that we're purchasing from the Hazard Mitigation Fund, will be $2,080,865 for the total project. That would also include the demolition and asbestos removal as well.
Oh,
So
the
that's
total
full,
package.
That's the full it's the full package, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. Did you have something else, Supervisor Humphrey?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, and I remember this is funded in multiple ways, including the homeowners have agreed to contribute some of the.
No, so that was the one I brought before you
That
two
was
months
before,
ago.
okay.
That's been, we're getting them the full appraised value using the mitigation funds for that last 10%.
Okay,
And that was approved 2 months ago.
okay. So I don't want to muddy the water, so I will call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt resolution number 24-10-04 and authorize Jane Minlove, Gila County Manager, to sign the various related documents associated with the purchase of homes related to the Campaign Creek buyout and other Campaign Creek houses necessary for the successful completion of the Campaign Creek project.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Alex. Item 3G, information, discussion, action to adopt a resolution number 24-10-03 authorizing the roadway exchange of 4,109 square feet of unneeded Roper Lane in exchange for the acquisition of 4,027 square feet of assessor's parcel number 30205-001W for new Forest Service 199 right-of-way and authorize the chairman's signature on the related quitclaim deed. Homero.
Thank you, Chairman. The partners of parcel number 302-50-001W and parcel 302-05023 have applied to abandon a portion of Roper Lane, or did apply to abandon a portion of Roper Lane which lies between the two parcels. Abandoning this portion of Roper Lane would allow the Deckers to combine two parcels together with that portion of the abandoned Roper Lane and connect to a well located to the west parcel and utilize it for irrigation and fire suppression. It would allow them to combine these two parcels together with that portion of Roper Lane. The Board of Supervisors approved the Roper Lane was dedicated to the public on the plat of Verde Glen 3 subdivision as Verde Lane. The Board of Supervisors approved the plat back in January 29, 1969, and it was officially filed as plat map number 393. Roper Lane is not maintained by the county. It dead ends at the Forest Service boundary. The Forest Service has expressed that they're not interested in Roper Lane being used as a vehicular access to the Forest Service, and basically they have no objections to a Roper Lane abandonment or in this particular case, an exchange. While reviewing a recent survey of parcel 302-05001W, we discovered that the Forest Service 199, Forest Service Road 199, which runs along the west and north lines of this parcel and is maintained by the county, encroaches onto the parcel. In some places, the encroachment is up to 7 feet. In other places, it's 1 foot or something like that. But there is 2 areas of encroachment, and this survey was recorded as a record of survey map number 5465. We've consulted with the county attorney to determine the feasibility of processing a roadway exchange. In other words, the Deckers applied for a roadway abandonment. We offered them a roadway exchange, Roper Lane for the encroachments on Forest Service Road 199. And that's what we're bringing to the board. It was concluded that the roadway exchange met the criteria outlined in State Statutes 28-7203. The applicant has agreed to the roadway exchange. The roadway exchange will benefit the applicants, the county, and the forest, if you will, because it will restrict vehicular access into the Forest Service area. Today, we have a group of people that want to voice a different opinion to the board, and I believe that there's a representative for the Deckers here as well, or the Deckers. The roadway exchange, and so we're going to listen to the other side of a concern. The roadway exchange, we believe, is in the best interest of the public because Forest Service Road 199 has a width of 24 foot, and a 7-foot encroachment does impede a two-way travel on a road. The roadway exchange that we want goes a little bit beyond the edge of the road. In other words, it allows for a shoulder. The roadway exchange is almost equal in area. And what we're asking is for an exchange of 4,109 square feet of unneeded Roper Lane in exchange for the acquisition of 4,027 square feet of parcel 302050001W for a new Forest Service Road 199 right-of-way. So the exchange is approximately equal. And one of the things that we looked at was not only do we need the exact prism of the travelway, but we needed shoulders as well beyond the prism of the roadway. And that's the reason for those square footages. With that, I would like to entertain questions and also ask the board to see if there's an interest in listening to the folks that are here today to express their opinions.
Thank you, Homero. Supervisor Humphrey.
If there's other comments, I'd like to hear other comments before I had questions or anything of that nature.
All right, we'll proceed to that after I ask Mr. Klein if he has any questions at this juncture.
I too would rather wait. I understand what Homer's saying, so I'd like to hear what these other folks have to say as well.
Okay, I have several requests. We have 3 people in Payson, and we have a few people here. So I would like to call forward then, and if you could be brief in your comments. We like to limit people to 3 minutes, but I understand some flexibility can be allowed. I would like to call Mr. Hunt Winston, who lives on Roper Lane, 137 North Roper Lane, adjacent to lot number 40.
Sure.
Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My name is Hunt Winston. I actually live right here. Not to scale, but I live right there. I'm also and have been the president of the Verde Glen Properties Owners Association for the last 3.5 years, and have been a resident there for 4 years. First, I want to say, in a way, it feels a little bit like a bait and switch to go forward with or start with an application for abandonment or declaring that roadway abandoned and then changing it around to a land exchange. The significant difference in that and what concerns me about that is one of those requires public notification, opportunity for public comment, and then consideration for whether or not the deal should go through. The other, the abandonment, or pardon me, the exchange approach is when I talked to Mr. Vela on Friday, he mentioned that does not generally require notification or comments or anything else. And while I am here, I'm only here because I happened to find out about this on Friday from a neighbor who shared that it was on the agenda. I was not notified otherwise that this was happening or anything else. So I just wanted to start with that. I think it would be fair and appropriate that anything that looks like a public land exchange should be open to the public and to comment and input. Secondly, and I sent an email yesterday, so I'm not going to read that email. I'm not going to go through it again. I just want to cover kind of a couple of new things. First off, I really do think this portion of Roper Lane, not the portion that's part of the exchange, but where the new dead end would be. This is where my lot line is here, this new dead end here. This area here, if you'll notice in the photographs that I shared with you, the first 2 photographs, one is flooding. It's about 5 or 6 feet high of water because that culvert wasn't working underneath Roper Lane, and that area is right here. The ditch, or the big sunken area is right here. The culvert is right here. There's a ditch that goes out to the river. The river is right here. So that floods at least, significantly floods at least one time a year, if not a couple of times a year, depending on how the mountain rains go. That area also erodes considerably. So the second photograph you'll see is the debris that came across when that water flooded. The culvert couldn't handle the load and the water came over the roadway. And it eroded on both sides of Roper Lane. And so it has narrowed Roper Lane considerably. The third photograph that you'll see is my tractor and my truck parked at the back of Roper Lane, the current dead end of Roper Lane. And you can see there's plenty of room to turn around a truck. The previous photo had a giant drilling rig. And so there's plenty of room to turn around a truck where the current dead end is. But where it would be proposed to be, you can't, because it's far too narrow, significant erosion on both sides, and questionable whether or not that culvert is capable of handling additional load of large trucks, trailers, or anything else turning around in that vicinity. So I would propose that before the Board of Supervisors were to consider this proposal, that a geotechnical review should be required to determine whether or not that's a viable place for a dead end on Roper Lane. Secondly, Roper Lane is not abandoned. Roper Lane is used every single day, not only by vehicle traffic, but also by foot traffic, myself included, my family included, and others in our neighborhood and community, and the public for access to the forest. Now, like Mr. Vela said, not vehicular access to the forest, but walking access into the forest and into the East Verde River. If this land exchange were to continue, that open access would be closed down permanently. So a main feature of our neighborhood, Verde Glen 3 and Verde Glen overall, is that access. I bought that house and property. I don't touch the forest where my house is, but I do have access because of Roper Lane, and because it's a public roadway, I do have access to the forest and to the East Verde River directly there. And so that's a feature certainly of our community. It's a feature of our neighborhood. It's a feature for one of the reasons I purchased my home, and that would be significantly impacted if this exchange were to move forward. Finally, and I mentioned this to Mr. Vela, but it sounds like the attorney and he have already talked about it, specifically the policies and procedures for Gila County for land exchanges and Arizona revised statutes for land exchanges notes specifically the exchanges are authorized for an abutting landowner if it is for a new road, meaning it's being exchanged for a new road. This is not a new road, right? The minimal, and it doesn't look minimal in this drawing, right? The shaded area looks rather significant, but this is actually very minimal. So the last photograph that you'll see is Forest Road 199. It's here by the gate area, and you can see the cold caution tape that shows a line from this point to this point, and it's only a few feet that actually are, and I would propose that those few feet are actually the buildup of that driveway. And so that's not actually impacting the road here in any way. And then over here where the shade is on the north side is a very substantial and significant decline. So it's a huge slope. So the two markers that are on the road, they're actually on the shoulder of the road, and they're already sloping down. So any easement or anything that you would grant or in a land exchange, you'd be getting basically a giant slope, and you'd have to figure out a retaining wall. When Mr. Wayne Jones was up there yesterday, my wife walked the property with him and walked the lines with him yesterday, he suggested a better approach would be to take some of Tony Gaines's land, and I've got the APN number here, but Tony Gaines's land is the slope on the upside, right? He said the easiest thing to do would be just to cut a couple feet into that if you were going to do anything there. So, so for those reasons, I appreciate again the time to speak to you. I wrote a few other items in my notes that I sent yesterday, but for those reasons, I would really strongly request that you consider or ask the county attorney and Mr. Vela to withdraw this proposal at this time until they can get a geotechnical permit done. And then before they bring it back with that geotechnical review, that they also go down the process of opening it up for public notification and public comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Winston, and if we do have specific questions, I'll call you back up, okay?
I'd be happy to answer.
All right, so Mr. Harper is also indicated here. Now, we also have Mr. David West, which is here, and Ms. Decker's here. And so, Mr. Harper, are you here to speak for them?
For Ms. Decker.
Okay, would you like to come forward and do that?
There's also people, I believe, yes.
Are you speaking for Barbara and Jay Cuomo and David Owens as well?
I'm not.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman, members of the board, I'm really here primarily to answer any questions, but since you've heard a little bit, I'll talk a little bit about what you've just heard. One thing, this suggestion that there's a bait and switch going on is not true. This was initially applied for as an abandonment, but then the county and Homer came to us and said, look, we've got a better way to do this in a way that's actually going to benefit the county because of the encroachments here on the Decker property. This is a Decker property, this is a Decker property. So the abandonment, it's not an abandonment, the exchange piece would connect those two pieces, which allows utilities to be brought back and forth. There's actually a little on this piece. And what's being proposed benefits the county a lot because all the green area here is where the road currently encroaches. And so that would end that encroachment, allowing this exchange would end that encroachment and would have the road actually be on public property. So this has not been a bait and switch at all. It's actually the county's idea to do the exchange, and I think, frankly, it's a good one, and my clients are supportive of it. The process is governed by a different statute, and this is for Mrs. Cabelli to talk about if she wants to. There's a different statute that deals with roadway exchanges as opposed to abandonments, and it doesn't require a public notice, so there's no posting done under that statute. There's actually a case-specific Court of Appeals case that deals with that. And Mr. Winston obviously has heard about this and he's had a chance to comment anyways. In terms of access to the forest, there's a lot of access to the forest in this area. And Mr. Winston's property is here. I happen to know that he has access, because the river's back here, he has access this way. And he also, all you have to do is walk here and there's access right here. So the idea that this is going to cut off access to the forest is just not true. There's a lot of forest access, and the county has gone through the work, and Mr. Warren in particular, I think, did a lot of work to come up with this particular additional area to be picked up. And I don't think there's been any, and Homer can talk about this if he wants to, but this idea that there should be a geotechnical survey and that sort of stuff, I just don't think that's required. I think the county's already covered those bases. So I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. I know that there will be some other people speaking in favor of this. In fact, just to give you some perspective, Mr. West is here. He owns the next property up. And then Mr. Owens, I think, is at Payson, owns, I believe, the next property up. And then the Cuomo's own the next property up. So most of the people on Roper Lane are actually in favor of this.
Okay, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
And if we want to ask questions, I'll call you back up. Mr. West, did you have anything you wanted to comment?
Just a comment, as far as approval, or I think it's a good idea.
Support. So you have a vote for support. And then in Payson, we have Barbara and Jay Cuomo, also own property and residence on Roper Lane. Do they wish to speak this morning? Okay. Go ahead.
I'm in favor of the exchange, and I am not in favor of the road going all the way through into the forest. It's too much traffic.
Okay, so you're in favor of the proposal today?
I'm in favor of Kyle receiving that extra piece of property to the switch. I'm invited land exchange.
Okay. Thank you. Is that all from the Cuomos? Okay. It's kind of hard to hear, but we have Mr. David Owens as well, a owner on Roper Lane. It's,
Family myself are 2 doors down from this area. We are in favor of the roadway exchange. We have never seen any access problems. We've never had any access problems. Nor have we had any debris problems or anything of the sort down in that area. So I don't really know how to articulate around that, but I will say this, that we do need to have, 1, Forest Service 199 taken care of, and 2, we do need the end of the Roper Lane closed off. And we are totally in favor of this land exchange or roadway exchange. How do we determine, how do we what you do?
okay. Thank you, Mr. Owens. I don't believe we have anyone else. Supervisor.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to say something.
And who's speaking now? Who is speaking now? Okay.
Chairman, Samantha can't hear him.
Okay, excuse me. Okay. Let me interrupt, okay? Hang on just a second. We're having trouble here, and because of the microphone or something, getting everything recorded properly. Samantha can't hear the comments. And so I believe that's Mr. Cuomo speaking, and he was mentioning something about a campground. Mr. Cuomo, can we sum it up that you're in favor of this land exchange?
Correct.
Okay. All right. I think we've heard all the various arguments. So Supervisor Humphrey, do you have anything you'd like to ask?
No, not really. The only comment I'd like to have is any roads that are maintained that have violations in the road or encroachments, I think it's our responsibility to try to fix that the best way that we can. And so, that's just my comments, on that. And so if we have a road where we're encroaching on other properties, then I think we need to come up with a solution to fix that. And from what I understand, there's more people that have the appreciation for the fix that our engineers have come up with, than are not in support of that.
Thank you. Supervisor Klein.
Jessica, did we cover all our bases?
Chairman, member supervisors, I just have one more question for Homero. If you wouldn't mind just explaining that green area again. What the statute requires is that there's an exchange for all or part of a new road. So I just need clarification that that green area is part of a new road.
They're gonna set up a map that I have, so that I can better answer that question. It's the other one, please. Flip it a little bit. Okay, this is the same map that we were looking at earlier, that's on your board, on the agenda item. The dotted red lines in here are purplish lines, that is the road where the road travels today. That's a road prism, if you will, that's the actual road, to the best of our surveyor's ability. The encroachment, the area that we're looking, the boundary of this parcel, 00W, is this line right here. So in this particular section, we're encroaching 8.7 feet, okay? The additional area that we're looking here for a shoulder is 5.7 feet. So when you were to look at, this is where one of the flags was at, this is where another flag was at. The encroachment is very limited here, a little bit more here, almost nothing here. So that's just where the flags happen to have been located. But when the surveyor gave me the dimension of how much this road encroaches on this property was 8.7 feet. So the green area shows the property that we would be obtaining in exchange for Roper Lane, the green hatched area. And it includes both the road encroachment plus, in some cases, some shoulders. Okay?
Thank you, Chairman, member supervisors. So I understand that the encroachment is part of the road. So when we acquire that area, you're saying that it is part of the new road because it continues to be the road. It's not like a shoulder is what I'm getting at. That green area is not just a shoulder, it is part of the roadway.
So we're acquiring a section of the roadway, plus in some cases, a shoulder.
Got it. Chairman, member supervisors, it does look like the statute is complied with. It is not a requirement that we acquire a new road, just a part of a new road. And it looks like we've met that here.
So Homer or Jessica, either one of you, we make this swap and that green becomes the road, basically, the 199, right? The Forest Service is gonna retain that road. That'll always be a Forest Service road.
In this particular area, it's called Forest Service 199, but we're acquiring easements. We're acquiring quit claim for something, for something that has already been quit claimed to us. This is private land going through the forest, and on both sides, it's called Forest Service 199. People refer to this section as Forest Service 199. This is not Forest Service property.
Okay.
That road happens to be, as it exists today, happens to be Gila County property.
Okay, so having FS 199 on there, whatever it is, kind of misleading to me.
Correct, for that section. Immediately, as it leaves the subdivision, it becomes Forest Service 199.
Because it is on the forest at that point. I get that. Okay, so I'm gonna ask a question. Might as well just ask all the questions we need to today. We're all here. How, was it ever talked about as far as Roper Lane, bending in that easement, plumb back up the road there to where the 199 takes off? Has that been discussed, or maybe I'm playing devil's advocate, but I'd like to hear some.
In 1994, Survey 855
Chairman, he
shows a
needs to come
proposed
up.
extension.
We need to have you at the microphone, sir.
I'm sorry about that. I
Okay.
just had the answer to that because I looked at it. In 1994, there was a survey. It shows a number of 855, and it's in the records online. And it does show a proposed roadway extension. But that's not what this is about. So that would be a new road extending Roper Lane to this road here, so you would have easy access to Birdie Glen 3. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about a new road at all. We're talking about the existing road only today, and then potentially, abandoning Roper Lane at the end, which there is no access to the forest or any vehicles outside of that today. So there was a survey at least in '94, that somebody had proposed going and extending Roper Lane.
I asked that question because a while ago and in your photos, you mentioned that how Roper Lane pinches down right there where the proposal is to cut it off now.
Yeah.
And it's not very adequate for a turnaround.
Correct.
But if that was backed up the roadways, back up there further, I mean, I'm just asking you property owners is why I'm asking. Has that been a thought or a discussion?
So the idea of abandonment came up when Ms. Decker approached me in the summer of '21. The summer of '21, she says she wants to have horses. Well, she can't have horses because her property isn't large enough to have horses, right? So she asked about, well, why don't we abandon the road and we can move the end here, then I can join my properties and I can have horses. It was stated in the background that this is about attaching a well. The well's already been dug. The road has been trenched, and pipes, both plumbing and electrical, have been put under the road and have interconnected into Ms. Decker's property. So it's got nothing to do with the well because the well's already attached and interconnected. So that was discussed in '21. I'm that homeowner, and so I said I'm not in favor of that. I'm not in favor of a turnaround being right in front of my driveway or my property. Currently, the turnaround is not on anyone's property. It's at the very end of the road, which is technically on forest property. And it's a higher, as you notice in the photo, it's much higher, so it doesn't flood. It's not prone to any flooding issues or anything else, and it's much more room to turn around large vehicles, as opposed to where the proposal is today. Sorry. Anything else?
I hear what you're saying. I guess I just haven't heard my question answered specifically yet. And Cassie, if you can turn that map around to what we had on there, please. Yep, nope, that's it. If you just bring it up where we can see it good, and there you go. So I'm just asking this question. I'm not saying this is the way to go, because you guys are all the property owners and all that. But where it's proposed for the land exchange, let's just call it that, the abandonment, right there below Roper, yep. And so have you guys thought, because it's not gonna go anywhere anyway, but have you thought about moving that abandonment up to like the end of Lane right there or something like that and cutting it off? I mean, I would assume that property owners own one half and the other property owners own the other half of that road. That's what I would assume. Maybe that's not cool, but.
That's not actually true. So the property lines end, there's 48 feet between this property line here and this property line here.
48?
Correct. So the property owners do not own, or it's 38, I think, 19 feet on both sides. Property owners actually don't own any of the road currently.
No, because it's an easement, right?
It's actually not an easement. I'm not sure what it is. It's not an easement though today.
It's a platted subdivision. It's a public road that's not maintained by the county, and it is 35, Roper Lane is 38 foot wide from top to bottom.
Well,
And so if there's an opportunity to do a turnaround in the Ropers, in this area, then there should be an opportunity to make a turnaround up here as well. But 38 foot is, compared to Forest Service 199, 38 feet is a wide easement compared to the 24 feet we have with Forest Service 199.
And just to clarify, 199 here is about 12 feet higher in elevation than Roper Lane. And so there's only about 7 or 8 feet between them. They run parallel here. And so it's a very extremely steep embankment. So you couldn't even, if you create a dead end here and just tied it into the road here, it wouldn't work because it's so steep.
Okay, Mr. Harper.
10 seconds?
Mhm.
I think I can answer your question maybe a little more directly. It's never been talked about because if this got abandoned, there's no access to this parcel. This is the only access to this parcel. It's at a dead end.
but she owns the other side, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So there is access to that property for either way.
Well, you would have to create some, that's true, you'd have to create some kind of access across, but I don't think that there's ever been any real plan to dedicate the rest of Roper Lane or to seek an abandonment of it.
Go for it.
Are you
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
So just a few comments on my part. I'm very familiar with the area. I've worked in that area. I know where the Cuomos live. I know where the Owens live. I know where Dave lives. I know where your property is, and I know where the Bazans used to live. So I'm familiar, and there used to be a gate across there. Apparently that gate no longer exists. So Homero, I don't really have any more questions. It seemed like the main complaints are, if there's complaints, the main complaints are the process that it happened, the non-notification is an issue, and then we're bringing in some other issues about flooding and stuff, which is really not what we're talking about today. It is a very steep area. Redirecting Forest Service Road 199, if we call it that, it would be much more problematic, maybe this solution. So that's my opinion. Is there any more discussion, Homero, that we need to have?
I'll just offer that we have typically undertaken roadway exchanges without following the procedures that state statute is very clear applies to road abandonment. And both our policy that we follow for roadway exchanges, the policy only refers to the state statute, and the state statute is one short little paragraph, and it doesn't really bring into play all the other notifications. So on this road exchange, we treated it like we've done all other roadway exchanges. Okay. And yes, there is some public concern, and we've allowed for some of that today, given very little notification. As Hunt Winston pointed out, he just found out about it Friday. But I think we've heard what they have to say, and if there is an erosion issue that was either permitted with unintended consequences or not permitted, we can investigate that as requested. Other than that, I don't have anything else to add.
Thank you, Homero. Anything further, Supervisor Humphrey?
Just one question. On that, and turnaround seemed to be one of the questions. Is there room to turn around if that exchange is made?
I can give firsthand explanation.
Wait, I didn't ask you.
Okay, sure.
It is a 34-foot wide right-of-way.
Okay, so where they turn around now, I was in a 34-foot.
There is 38 foot wide, 19 on each side.
Okay, but that's what they're given to turn around in now. Is that correct?
Correct.
So we're not making the turnaround any smaller. And if there's a culvert issue on the road, then that's a maintenance issue of whoever maintains that road. Is that correct?
The property owners that,
Okay, yeah, no, but if the
Yes,
culvert's not
correct.
working,
Yes.
it's a maintenance issue.
that's correct.
Okay. All right, that's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Supervisor Klein.
No, I don't think I have any more. I understand the issues with access to the river or whatever, but that's kind of a different deal to me. No, I don't have any more questions.
Thank you, Supervisor. With that, I'll call for motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to adopt resolution number 24-10-03 and authorize the chairman's signature on the related quitclaim deed.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve this item. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Homero. Next item, 3H, information, discussion, action to review the bid submitted for request for proposals number 072124 Campaign Creek Post-Fire Project Survey and Cleanup of Asbestos of up to 10 homes and award a contract to the most responsible, and qualified bidder, Alex.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Board. Again, this is another Campaign Creek discussion, and we'll have one more following, or two more following this. So this is the request to award the contract to Native Environmental LLC. As you know, we went out for bid for both the asbestos and the demolition, and so this would be the asbestos cleanup of the 10 homes in Campaign Creek. The bids were opened at 2 o'clock on September 19th and evaluated according to ARS 412533 for competitive bidding. As this is FEMA funded money, we needed to do things through that met up with ARS, and we had one bidder, and that bidder was Native Environmental LLC, and they met all the requirements for the asbestos cleanup, so we would like to award this contract to them.
Thank you, Alex. Supervisor Humphrey.
No, asbestos, it comes up and bites you in some of these demo deals. And I don't believe that all of the homes do have asbestos, perhaps just tile or roofing or something of that nature.
Yes, so in the contract, they'll have to do the survey, determine what the extent of the asbestos is in each of the 10 homes, and then remediate them.
Okay, great. And just as a side note, I don't know if it's possible or not, but I also know that the road crew is working on some culverts in that area that are also asbestos. And I don't want to muddy the water too much because I know we're under the gun for 12 months to get this finished. But if there's 2 or 3 culverts that are asbestos as well, and then we can work it with the road crew and maybe save a little money and get all the asbestos out of that area at the same time. But anyway, that's all. Thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you, Supervisor Klein.
We have culverts with asbestos in them?
That's a horse of a different color.
So that's not for the Campaign Creek project here.
That's what?
That's not, that doesn't deal with the Campaign Creek
Yeah.
project, it just deals with the Roosevelt Estates area. And
Yeah.
I'll have to talk with our deputy director after this meeting to address Supervisor Humphrey's statement there.
I'd
But
be
that's not
interested to hear parts of that discussion when you get ready.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Okay. Thank you, Alex. With that, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to award a contract to Native Environmental LLC in the not-to-exceed amount of $60,000 in response to the request for proposal number 072124.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Alex, we have information, discussion, and action to review the bids submitted for invitation for bid number 071924 Campaign Creek Post-Fire Project demolition of 10 homes and award a contract to the lowest, most responsive, responsible, and qualified bidder.
Mr. Chairman, Board, thank you again. So this is for the same project. This is for the demolition contract. Again, we went out for bid. The bids were opened at 2 p.m. on September 19th, and they were evaluated, again, according to ARS 412533 for competitive bidding to make sure that we met FEMA's requirements for awarding of the bid. Brynholt Contracting Company was the lowest, most responsible, qualified bidder for ARS in the amount of $89,677. And so we would like to award the bid to them and hopefully get this project wrapped up.
Supervisor Humphrey.
No, I don't have any questions. I do have a comment, though. I want to thank staff very much for doing the walkthroughs and to do a walkthrough to help local contractors to be able to do the walkthrough and to get bids from local contractors on this. And I thank you very much for that. I do.
Supervisor Klein.
How many bids did we have on this, Alex?
So for the demolition, we had 4 bids.
4 bids, and this Brynholt Contracting, are they local or?
Unfortunately, they are not, but again, per ARS as
Right.
the lowest bidder. So they're out of Apache Junction, Gilbert. They're out of
darn.
Gilbert.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. With that, I'll call for motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to award a contract to Brynholt Contracting Company in the amount of $89,677 in response to invitation for bids number 071224.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
The item number was 071924. Is that what you read?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just misheard it. We have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. And next item is 3J. Okay, we have information, discussion, action to authorize the advertisement of request for proposal number 082924, design services for flood protection at Campaign Creek in Roosevelt State Community, to select an engineering firm to analyze and design a project to protect the residents of Roosevelt Estates from severe weather events that cause flood events in Campaign Creek. Alex.
So thank you, Chairman, Board of Supervisors. So we're calling this the North Bank Project. So as we just got approvals for everything, moving forward with the Campaign Creek buyout, that will address most of the flooding issues that occur between Mesquite Street and Campaign Creek itself. This agenda item here is a request for design services to look at the area in a larger view and see what else we can do to actually mitigate flooding damages in that area. So our north-south boundary would be East Street to Palm Drive, and then the east-west boundary would be the extent of Roosevelt Lake Estates, and we would be using part of the allocated $2.1 million from the Woodbury Fire Mitigation Fund to move forward with looking at making it so that not just the buyout, but the entirety of Campaign Creek will be addressed in the flooding capacities.
Okay, Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, and what created all of this is, a couple years ago, the state awarded us $3 million for buyout of these homes, and we also put in for a grant, and the grant has taken an awful long time to get approved. But with the patience of the constituents and the patience of the staff and willingness of the staff, we held off on that because we didn't have a restriction time on when we had to spend that money. And so we were able to wait until we heard from the grant, and we did get the grant, which is a great thing, and it still gave us this $3 million to work on Campaign Creek. And so not only are we able to do the buyout, but then when it came before the board for us to give the homeowners the full appraised value, that's coming out of this $3 million. And then also too, that leaves us money to do some work on the north side to prevent any damage to those residences on the north side. we still have that leftover money. And that's kind of been the plan for the last 2 years, and it came to fruition. But had we not gotten the grant, then all of that money would have gone to do the demolition of the homes. So it's been a long project. It's been a lot of work, and I thank staff very much, and I thank the constituents for being patient with us to let us try to be as intelligent with the financing that we could be. And as luck would have it, or the Lord would have it, it turned out. So thank you very much for all the work, and now we can have some money to do some more work there, which will just continue to help that area, because years ago there was a buyout because it took homes down the creek. So it's been a long process, and I just want to thank everybody very much.
Supervisor Klein.
I'm good. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. With that, I'll call for motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to authorize the advertisement of request for proposal number 082924.
And I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Alex. And item 3K, information, discussion, action to authorize the advertisement of invitations for bid number 082424, 5 new Ford vehicles to purchase 1 Ford F-250 crew cab 4x4 pickup truck, 2 Ford F-150 crew cab 4x4 pickup trucks, and 2 Ford F-350 crew cab 4x4 trucks. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman and Board. Every one of these contracts that we bring in front of you, our finance manager, Carrie Cottrell, plays a role in this. And actually, this has been quite a year for her and her staff to put together all the different contracts that we're trying to engage, both for road repair, Campaign Creek, and vehicles like this one that you're going to hear today. This is about 5 new vehicles for her. In buying these 5 new vehicles, some of them have anywhere from 130,000 miles to 226,000 miles. We are putting into the auction 9 old vehicles, so it's more than a 1-for-1. One of the things that you see in the 5 vehicles, they're crew cab. In other words, more than one person can drive in that pickup truck, and sometimes we do send a crew to go work on a job, and so we have to take one truck instead of multiple trucks. That's the idea. In some cases, you see some dump trucks that maybe weren't getting the service that we were utilizing, and no sense hanging on to it if we're not going to use it. So nonetheless, we are turning into auction 9 vehicles, some of them with a whole lot of miles, and we are looking to buy 5 new vehicles, and they are for administration and engineering as well as the road yard team itself. Okay, so with that, I would like to ask your approval to advertise bids for 5 new Ford vehicles.
Thank you, Homero. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no question.
Okay. Supervisor Klein.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Omero.
Yeah, I'm good too. I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to authorize the advertisement of invitation for bids number 082424.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
A motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Homero. Trying to figure out who we got in Payson. Okay, so item number 3L. This is my item. All 3 of the supervisors have contributed significantly to this. It's information, discussion, action to approve the Economic Development Agreement number 0905-2024 between Gila County and CIRCA, which is the Community Educational, Recreation, and Civic Association, in the amount of $33,500, which the board has determined to be for the benefit of the public. I don't believe we have a representative from CIRCA here today. CIRCA is a nonprofit association that takes care of multiple buildings in the Pine area that belong to the Pine School system. They're old buildings. They're part of the original school, churches, and things like that. And they suffer with a lack of funds to make the improvements necessary to continue with the various civic and community projects that occur in these locations. So This particular sum of money is to improve the HVAC systems throughout the buildings, and I appreciate very much the willingness of the other supervisors to contribute to this fairly significant amount of money. So with that, I'll answer any questions. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
So with that, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve Economic Development Agreement Number 09052024 with Community Education, Recreational, and Civic Association as presented, which the board has determined to be for the benefit of the public.
And I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you very much. Item 3M, also my item, it's an annual request. It's information, discussion, action to approve Economic Development Agreement Number 09042024 between Gila County and the Pine Strawberry Fuel Reduction in the amount of $5,000 to provide residents with free brush removal to reduce the risk of catastrophic wildfires, which the board is determined to be for the benefit of the public. This is a very active 501c3 group of volunteers that run a brush pit. They also help residents do firewise. They also create trail systems in order to provide greater and better access for anyone that needs to get into the forest recreationally and also for fire prevention, etc. So this is part of their annual request, and so I will answer any questions. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein.
I'm good, Mr. Chair.
Okay, then I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve Economic Development Agreement Number 09042024 with Pine Strawberry Fuel Reduction as presented, which the board has determined to be for the benefit of the public.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, thank you very much. Item 3N, also my item. It just happened that all this kind of came together in one meeting. So 3N is information, discussion, action to approve Economic Development Agreement Number 03022024 between Gila County and the Tonal Rim Search and Rescue Squad Incorporated, a 501c3 in the amount of $15,519.78 to purchase an Elevate Search and Rescue motor kit and a 7x12 tandem axle enclosed trailer, which the board is determined to be for the benefit of the public. This is a request brought to me for two items. The first item, which is called the Elevate Search and Rescue Motor Kit, is like a gurney with a battery-powered wheel to assist in very difficult extractions when needed, such as Fossil Creek. And the 7x12 tandem axle trailer is to provide a better and newer storage for, I believe, the scuba diving. And we have Mr. Bill Pitterly today. He's head of the Tonal Rim Search and Rescue. Mr. Pitterly, would you like to add any comments?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Richardson and board. We've been in Fossil Creek 23 times this year, and that is one of our most difficult litter extractions. And this electric motor has come out recently, probably within the last year, but it's being done by a group that does electric bicycles in California. at least 10 years, probably longer. And, you know, we're a little rough on our equipment sometimes because of the road we got to take it on. So it is due for replacement in order to carry the load that we're carrying in. So I appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you, Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein?
I really don't, just a comment, you know,
I think we cut him off. He's still trying to communicate maybe.
Oh, really? Did I cut you off, Bill? Okay. Okay, sorry.
Okay, I have no questions.
Okay.
yeah, that's just be kind of cool to see how it works, so, yeah. I'm good.
Well, if you'd like, go down into Fossil Creek, have an injury and.
No, I don't want to go down there,
Oh.
not unless I'm on something with 4 legs.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't really have any comments. Well, I do, I guess. I really enjoy benefiting the search and rescue people. They're all volunteer. It's a great organization, and this helps with the health and safety of the public countywide. So happy to be able to help. So with that, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve Economic Development Agreement Number 09302024 with the Tunnel Rim Search and Rescue Squad Incorporated as presented, which the board has determined to be for the benefit of the public.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Do we have a motion and a second to approve? Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, gentlemen. Our next item is item number 4, consent agenda items. We have item A through F. Supervisor Humphrey, any one or more items you'd like to remove from the consent agenda to discuss?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, same question to you, Supervisor Klein.
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right, then I will call for a motion to approve consent agenda items for A through F.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Lisa, do we have anyone in Payson for call to the public? Item number 5. No. Okay, Cassandra, how many do we have on the internet today? 50? Oh, that's a good number. And we don't have anyone that wishes to speak. Okay, and anyone here in the boardroom? No? Okay, so let's move on to item number 6, which is the what do you call it? We'll call it a presentation by the county manager and supervisors. So, Mr. Manager.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, attended with you last week the County Supervisors Association Legislative Summit preparation for the upcoming legislative session that starts in January. Very productive meetings. And then also this week we'll be attending the Arizona Department of Transportation Rural Transportation Summit in Prescott. I think it's important to have representation there because of the ongoing projects that we continue to try to support and bring to Gila County. One of those being the Lion Springs project, 4 miles of widening the 260 highway in northern Arizona. Just a short summary of why it's important is that the Lion Springs project was on the Arizona Department of Transportation list of projects for a number of years, was planned to be enacted. Then as Mr. Stratton, former Public Works Director for Gila County, stated that nobody representing Gila County went to these meetings and went to there to advocate or support these projects in Gila County. So it was dropped from the Arizona Department of Transportation list of projects to be completed. It is not back now on, Lion Springs is back on the Arizona Department of Transportation projects, and it was acquisition of property, obtaining right-of-way, and within the next year or so is scheduled to start construction of that widening project. So important that we keep ourselves in the game and supporting the projects in Gila County. So that's a reason to attend the Arizona Department of Transportation Rural Transportation Summit this week in Prescott. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Humphrey.
Also attended the CSA Legislative Policy Summit we do every year. We didn't do anything this year. It kind of sneaks up on us, and without knowing ahead of time that it just kind of slips by. And so anyway, but there was a lot of good discussion. I held a Roosevelt Dumpster Day on Saturday, and I called a metal scrapper. Usually I take my truck and trailer for the tires and the metal, and then everything else can go in the dumpster, so that when they get back to the landfill, they don't have to sort all the stuff. And so anyway, this year I called a metal scrapper to see if he was interested, and I'm sure glad that they did, because not only did we fill a dumpster and a half with just stuff, he took like 4 loads of metal. There was washers, dryers, hot water heaters. You can't imagine the metal bicycles, everything in the world. So I'd have been hauling for about 3 days if I was doing it by myself. So anyway, that turned out pretty good, and it was a good cleanup day at Roosevelt. And I held a Roosevelt community meeting yesterday at 1 o'clock. I was on KQSS radio last night at 5:30, and that's about it.
Thank you. Supervisor Fine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, a week or so ago, I went to Washington State on WIR and attended a meeting up there for a couple of days. A lot of good information came out of that. There's issues that are affecting us as well as the other 11 western states. And so a lot of that was discussed. One of those issues is the insurance companies dropping homeowners insurance. And that isn't only here, it's throughout everybody to the Canadian border. Had a really good meeting, worked on some priorities, but the hard part of the priority list all hinges on this next election. And so a lot of our discussion was just based on, well, we can do this, if this happens, we can do that, if that happens, however it's gonna work out, we're just gonna have to wait and see. But it was a very, very good meeting, and I was there along with Craig Sullivan from CSA and Patrice Hussman from Coconino. So all 3 of us were up there. Last Saturday, I attended a Ponderosa Springs meeting and at the fire department. And remember when we were there, we helped them with the well.
Mm-hmm.
So they've had the well drilled. It doesn't produce a lot of water, but it's going to produce enough to be able to put restroom facilities in that station. They went down about 220 feet, and they're getting less than a gallon a minute. But with proper storage and whatnot, they can make that work. I'm going to work with them a little bit. They're going to go ahead and start pursuing a septic system for that station, so I'm going to be working with them on that. And hopefully we can get it done in the next 2 or 3 years. It's going to be pretty costly just because of the type of system it's going to have to be. That afternoon, I also participated in an auction there in Young that was set up for the community center. It was a fundraising auction. Ton of items we auctioned off. A lot of people that was there. It was a really good time. I don't know the final figures. I believe by the end of the night, they should have been somewhere around $6,000 community centers. And that's all going towards their kitchen, remodeling their kitchen. So that was a good deal. Also attended the County Supervisors Legislative Summit in Maricopa. And same thing as Supervisor Humphrey said, we didn't have a lot, but it was good to visit with people and hear what they did have. There again, we had more conversation on the insurance part of things. Heard more about that. And then, one item of interest, Wilbur Belvedere from San Carlos, Belvedere Park. We've worked with him for, I don't know, 6 years? 8 years? Long time. And anyway, he's got a ballpark in San Carlos that he took over. It was kind of a ballpark that his family had started right. And Wilbur took this ballpark over and started doing improvements on it every year. He would look and prioritize what improvements he wanted to do on this ballpark, and has kept it up. Does an outstanding job on his requests and all that. We worked with him. the money that we had helped him with this last year, he was able to leverage that and for a grant from USDA, and he got awarded the grant. He was awarded the grant for a total of $316,000. So he does remarkably well trying to get these grants and things set up, and by helping him out, I don't know, I think it's like $10,000 or something I helped him with, but he used that for leverage and got it. So he's on his way to constructing an office building at the park now, and a very good guy. You brought up something, Supervisor Humphrey, that I wanted to ask a question about. Where are we on our Christmas bicycles?
Chair,
We still,
member supervisors, I'm sorry, with the updates, you cannot have a discussion.
boy, you're just a downer on a good thing here, Jessica. So I will save it for later. Okay, then I'll go with my last thing, and I'm gonna be headed down to Winkleman either tomorrow or Thursday. And I'd like to take our condolences down there to Mayor Bracamani. Last week, he lost his son. And so we're gonna go down there and see him and visit him, and I'll take our condolences down there for him. Other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you, Supervisor. So I don't have a lot to report. Also attended the summit, picked cotton, and went on a tour at Lucid Car Manufacturing. Very interesting. Was very impressive, actually. And also met with Wayne Springs residents yesterday as they have a number of concerns. And so there's about 15 residents there that expressed concerns about various things. So we had a good discussion there. And so that's all I have to report. So if there's nothing else, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Just one thing.
Yes, sir.
This key and key holder has been sitting up here for like the last 3 weeks. So if someone lost some keys, that's still sitting up here, and I'm not showing you the other side because the other side has something said on it. And so to identify your keys, just let us know what the back side of this, it's got 2 rings, 1 key, and on the back side it has something said. On this side it does not. So anyway, if you've lost your keys or been here and your keys, these have been laying up here for the last couple of weeks, so I don't know anything about it. But anyway, if they're yours, they're still here.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you. We are adjourned.